Okay, so we're moving on to our next speaker, which is an important subject, and it's about getting how quickly you can get started in this business. And the best thing that you're going to have is your own personal story and your own journey. So if you're getting someone started, you want them literally, boom, to go senior direct fast track in the first month, maybe sales coordinator in the second month. And of course they've got a great financial story with the bonuses as well. But they're going to feel successful, pump the chest out, and feel, you know what, hey, I'm going to go all the way to an MD. So this gentleman, he comes from County Leitrim in Ireland originally, where his family lives, but he's living now in Belfast. He's just newly married, and I wouldn't say he's had a massive immediate success with the business, and he'll tell you that. And I think the important part of our business is it's very much a marathon and not a sprint. The important part is you just never quit, because time wins out eventually in this business. And you can speak to all the old people, people that have been in for years and years and years, and their stories. It's great. So our speaker is Donal Brennan, and Donal, he went national marketing director in November of last year, and then it was the incentives that really sort of got him pressing that sort of, okay, I'm going to go on this one and make it happen. So quickly from November, he went international marketing director in December, he went executive marketing director in February, and then he went presidential marketing director in May, and he wanted to get his hands on that £118,000 worth of bonuses, which he did, which is fantastic. Probably because he got married and his wife says, hey, I need some cash, come on, new husband, get out there working. So there's no better man to go through this story of how to get off to a quick start. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Donal Brennan.
Thank you, Simon. Can everybody hear me okay? I was speaking to somebody in the bar last night. I was only in it for about 10 minutes, but so it was a quick conversation. But whatever, I won't tell you who it was, but when I said something during the course of the conversation, she looked at me strangely and she said, you know what, your accent is really, really funny. So I wasn't sure what to do with that. I was tempted to say, sorry, I didn't understand you, but I'm not sure if she would have got the Irish subtlety. So as Simon says, yes, I'm from Ireland. Thank you for having me. If I do speak too quickly, don't be afraid to remind me to slow down. Susie just said to me there as I was getting up, slow down, slow down. So I'll try and keep it slow, but every so often I get too enthusiastic about what I'm speaking about and get carried away. So just remind me. As Simon said, I had a slow enough start in the business. I've now in the business 4 years, and it wasn't until pretty much this time last year, or 14 months ago, that I did hit that restart button, and that was when the Fast Track program was first introduced in March of last year. And what I seen when I went to Munich to see the launch of the incentive program was that here was something different that I then couldn't waste the opportunity on. Before that, for the 3 years previously, it wasn't so much that there was anything wrong within the system. It was that it wasn't really, the opportunity wasn't too big to lose, because you always had the idea that in the future there's potential there to build your business. When the marketing plan or the Fast Track incentive program came out, all of a sudden then it was too big of an opportunity and it was time to get to work. So when that was first started in April, that was when I first brought through my first SDD, Fast Track. And then from there, we just started to build and build. And some of what I'm going to talk today about is what I consider to be the most important position in the whole company, and that's SDD, and showing them how to get Fast Track to SDD. So bringing a new team member through Fast Track. First of all, as we all know, most of the people here have been fast tracking and have been helping others to fast track. And it's all about duplication. So when you're bringing in a new team member for that first time, what you have to consider is that you're not just teaching them. You're teaching them in order to teach other people, to be able to create that momentum. And where the momentum comes from is, firstly, getting them on the Fast Track program. So SDD in their first month. Secondly, staying on that Fast Track program, so you teach them how to teach somebody else how to do it. And that keeps them on the program. And most importantly, the result is the Fast Track becomes the norm within your team. And when you introduce new team members, that arrive at your first team meeting or at their first team meeting and everybody around them has fast-tracked, well then you've just created a culture that everybody just buys into. And that gives them confidence. They don't know any different. They don't know that it may be difficult at some times, and you just support them along the way. But getting fast-track as the norm within your team is vitally important. Your first meeting with a new person. So what you want to do at that first meeting is give them the confidence to show that the system is really simple. We give you all the support you need, and you're never going to be overwhelmed with anything else. So what you're firstly doing is you review the potential. So again, running down through the incentive program, showing them how exactly this business, starting from small enough routes, can all of a sudden, within a very short space of time, grow into something massive. You show them the system, the simple system that we follow. Would most people agree here that one of the challenges you have when you're talking to a new person is that number one, they're not confident that they can actually do this. And number two, that they don't have the time to do it. And you need to put both of those challenges to bed very, very early on, and showing them that system will do that. You then show them the plan for the first 60 days. As Simon says, whether it's at the end of those 60 days that you're reconfirming SDD or you've gone a step further to SC. The online office. Again, one of the most important things of this business is that you make them independent as quickly as possible. So on that first day, you need to take them through the basics. Social media strategy. And this, obviously, when I'm speaking in this room, not too many people need to be taught anything on this, but you need to show them what exactly you do in terms of your team page and so on. And then the blueprint of the business is the starter guide. Always has been there for years, and still we follow this. Now, we may not every single time take out the actual physical starter guide and go through it. With social media and things like that, we may have a shortened version, but it's still the same principle. It's still those 5 steps in the starter guide that will make them successful. So what I'm going to do is go through each of these pretty quickly now. Am I speeding up talking yet? There's a few people looking strange at me, and I'm not sure, was it the Guinness or is it me? Okay, so first of all, the potential. And you have 2 options, and that is to build a small part-time business over time. You develop your own Juice Plus customers, telling your friends and family about your own experience, and over time you build up a number of customers. And you're earning, over a period of time, is £200 to £400 maybe, and that's based on 30 to 40, maybe 50 customers. The problem with this is that it is slow, and it takes quite a while to build up. So when the incentive program came in, what it allowed you to do was build a substantial business very quickly using the fast track incentive program. So you need to set out that potential from them from day one. Now, I don't have every step along the way, but what you're showing them is that you have bonuses that you can earn of up to £80,000. But the important thing here is that the bonuses aren't the big story. The bonuses are what drive you on as you're moving through the marketing plan. The important bit is the monthly income at the end of that. That recurring income every single month, £4,000 to £5,000 at the end of the marketing plan. That only ever goes one way, and that's upwards. So you're setting that scene for them to show them that when the marketing plan was named, it was very aptly named, and that is be independent. At the end of this, they can be completely financially independent, and everything else within their life be independent. So they can work and play and do what they want in whatever way they want, and they're not restrained by anything at all. So the fast track commitment, and I think this is a very important bit, and again it's something that I failed with when I was introducing a lot of people in the early stages of the business. What I didn't remember was fast track is not my choice as the person introducing a new person. So what you need to do is when you set out the potential for them, obviously everybody will go, yes, I want to go fast track. But then there are certain commitments that come with that. That's a lot of money at stake. You have to not take up a huge amount of time, but it's focus time. So within that, you need certain commitments from them. Daily contact. Has anybody here ever signed up a new distributor and then they fell off the face of the earth? Or you try to ring them and it's like you're, an angry ex-girlfriend or something. And this daily contact, it goes both ways. You're committing to them, they need to commit back to you if you're going to give them that support. Weekly targets. Again, I mentioned earlier that sometimes with people starting this business, they feel as though they don't have the time. It's about small amounts of focused time. So if you set weekly targets, you're doing 2 things. Number 1, smaller amount of time. Number 2, you're putting a really good practice within their business that they're going to teach on to others. Weekly team meeting. Again, at the start, you don't want to overwhelm them with information. They learn as you go. Sounds a bit cheesy, but we say you learn as you earn. And you have to be in those weekly team meetings. And secondly, they commit to doing it, their team will commit to doing it. And then weekly webinars again for training and conference calls. And again, you guys in the UK are brilliant for the conference calls, getting new speakers on who are giving the same message but just in a different way, because different people relate differently to different types of speakers. So once they've committed to that, well, then you're ready to get going on your first session. Simple system. So you want to give them the confidence at the very beginning that this is not going to take over their life. You just follow the simple system. They don't need to do out complicated business plans. It's all already done for them. You become a Juice Plus customer and then you submit a franchise application. Very often now, because we're really promoting the business opportunity, they're doing those both at the same time. You then fast track to SDD, fast track to SC, the next step, and then the most important thing in the whole thing is to duplicate. Don't forget to duplicate. As you're moving through these steps, you're learning all the time. If you know how to become an SDD, well then you automatically know how to become an SC. If you can do that, you duplicate it with others, you can achieve anything you want in this business whatsoever. So again, you're putting their mind at ease that this system is very, very simple. You then start to talk about SDD, month 1. And those commitments I talked about, you have to reinforce why that's so important in that first month. And the reason it's so important is, for anybody who has ever been successful in this business, what you will have done is, you will have brought through a hell of a lot of SDDs and not concentrated on anything else. They're the fire that light this whole business, or set this whole business alight. So basically, sometimes I feel bad when we've got some SCs in our team meetings because I completely ignore them. I say the most important people are the SDDs, those people that are going for SDD, because you have a window there to really make them independent for the rest of their life. So what are the requirements of SDD? I'll fly through these. There's 1 calendar month. You need 2,500 in promo volume, which is 14 to 20 customers basically. Okay, there are some other requirements, but you explain that to them along the way, and anybody new in the room, I'm sure, who invited you will explain it. So, month 1, SDD. Most important month in their whole business. 14 premium plus customers between them and their whole team. So what you can do is do all 14 customers yourself, but then you're explaining to them that if they start to build their team from day 1, it's easier, but secondly, it makes the second and third and fourth month easier, and you can draw that out further. At that stage, approximate income of £400. Instantly earning part-time income at a very high level. There isn't too many people out there that don't want to earn an extra £400. There's certainly loads and loads of them in Ireland. I'm starting to get the feeling there's an awful lot of them already captured here in the UK. But £400, who doesn't want it? So it's easy to be able to explain to them that they can recruit in their first month and already start to build that duplication process. Month 2, you have 2 options. You can reconfirm SDD, and all you're doing there is simply helping Bob. Bob was the guy that you recruited in the first month. Now, you do put on some extra orders yourself. You're building up your own PV volume and so on, and then you help Bob to confirm SDD. So again, straight away after month 1, it becomes not about you anymore. It's about helping other SDDs. And the system is started here. For that, you receive approximate income of £450. Or, the other option in month 2 is to go straight to SC. So, Bob goes to SDD, but in the meantime, you've also found Jane, who's a friend who wants to earn a few extra pounds herself. She's seen you get £400. She's got a bit of confidence. She wants a piece of the action as well. And you help Jane get to SDD. You have an income of approximately £1,000. You now virtually have a full-time income that a lot of people are earning at the minute, doing this part-time, having fun with a very, very simple system. The online office, the next step that I would use when I'm sitting down with a new person. And again, it's about making them independent straight away. So the first thing you would do is get them to, you log into your online office and get them to register themselves. So they now know how to register a new distributor, so there's no problem with recruitment. While you're waiting for that password to come back, which will be pretty much instantly, you then get them to process their own order once that password comes back. So again, the 2 fundamental things of this business to make them independent: log into your online office, process an order, process a new distributor. They're now independent. You would then set up their website with their contact details, show them where to look at earnings summary, and then lastly take them through reports. Only one report I would show them at the very beginning, and that is the customer genealogy report. Show them how to count up their volume. So you're not overwhelming them, and you're showing them with this one website, and there's even an app at the minute, that you can run your whole entire business from that. So again, it's reassuring them that the system is very, very simple. Team tools. Most people are using some form of social media, primarily Facebook, and on there is all the information they're ever going to need. It was the growth within the UK that prompted everybody else to look at social media as a way of not just getting the word out there and creating an awareness about Juice Plus, but also having these closed group pages where you can give full support to new team members. So in there, all the presentations, website links, the starter guide is in there. You'll have a summary version of how to take a new person through this process that I'm talking about, so they can use it as a reference in the early stages, and then the video links. And nobody knows more about the video links than you guys and how powerful they are. So you have this wealth of information there at their fingertips, and they don't feel that they have to want for anything. So taking them through those team tools is very important. And then, as I said earlier, the starter guide, the most important part of teaching somebody the whole business in one go, in 5 simple steps. I'm going to club some of those together. So the product and business story. I remember going to a meeting in Portlaoise in Ireland back about 3 or 4 years ago, and the guy who was talking, Eddie O'Shaughnessy, most of you will know him, I'm sure, and he said that when he was signing up a new person who came to the meeting as an accountant, and when he did his registration, he went home as a doctor. And all of us have had that, and all of us have probably suffered from a little bit of it ourselves from time to time when we've got up on our high horse. When you're teaching somebody to write their product and their business story, number one, it's important that they actually write it down. What you write down gets done. And secondly, that you teach them to keep it personal. It's personal to them. So their warm market, when they're speaking to their warm market, they don't really care that about 32 studies. Yes, you need to be knowledgeable on the studies and pick out bits and pieces, but you can develop that into your product story as time goes. But you make the product story personal to you because that's what they want to hear, and the business story. Ask questions, identify problems, and offer a solution. So what that means is that when you're speaking to somebody about Juice Plus, you just work it into the conversation. You don't run up and tell them all about Juice Plus straight away. So how many of us have been walking down the street, meet a friend, say hello, and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is something completely negative? That he hasn't enough of money, he feels crap, it's teeming rain, haven't got one of those fancy cars that's outside, any of those sort of things. So you've asked questions, he's identified the problem for you, and you offer the solution. Jim Rohn says, I've got this part-time thing going. I was going to try the accent, but I'm not brave enough. And lastly, role play with them. Make them comfortable about it. Have a bit of fun with it. So get them to offer what the challenges are that some people will come up against. And then you give them the solution. And all the time, the key words that I always use are, I know exactly what you mean. So you don't tell them they're wrong. You agree with them. Tell them they're right. But then you tell them the solution that you came up with. So this product and business story is all they're ever going to use in the business. It develops over time, but once you teach that right, in those 10 minutes of doing it in that first meeting, you've now empowered them to speak to anybody about Juice Plus. Next part of the starter guide is list of names, and I think sometimes this gets a little neglected, and I certainly neglected it both when I did my own and then when I introduced new people. Because I think what can happen is you get your list of names written down, which is your warm market, and then you go out and you say the exact same thing to every single person. Half of them get completely annoyed with you, tell you you're nuts, and all of a sudden your confidence is gone. So as a sponsor, you need to be able to teach somebody how exactly to do their list of names correctly. So first of all, get a list of all of the people that you know, without prejudging anybody. And then you need to analyse it with them. So you teach them that process of, are they going to be interested in the product or business? Not the product, the business may not be for everybody. Or secondly, they may need to take the product for a while until they get some confidence, have some good results, and then introduce the business to them. Would most people agree that your best distributors were customers first of all? So you don't have to always lead with the business. You can lead with the product. But the idea of this process is that you find what is the best way to approach people. So if I'm sitting down with somebody new, I don't know all the people that's going to be on their list, so I get them to tell me about them. What do they do? What do they work at? What turns them on? Are they into money? Are they into a nice lifestyle? Whatever it happens to be. And then you get a strategy of how exactly you're going to approach them. So for some people, one-to-one is the best way. They may not want to come to a team meeting or to a conference. You may want to get some people into an in-home. Friends and family and aunts and uncles and people like that will always come to an in-home, sit down, drinking a cup of tea. It's a nice, relaxed environment, and that's the best approach. Or to a team meeting, or probably what I should have added in was social media. Just throw out a little hook out there and seed it, do they bite? So what you're doing in that early stage is teaching somebody how exactly to limit the amount of negative feedback they get and don't knock their confidence, and give them the best opportunity of getting those first customers in. Events. We were in a meeting yesterday, and events were described. I was going to say I described it in Dublin at our national conference last week like this, but it so happens that I did, but I'm not claiming any great insight into it. But an event is anything that gives you interaction with a person. Now, when I first started Juice Plus, and maybe this is why I went so slow for 3 years, I considered an event to be something like today. So 5 days before today would be happening, I get up my list of names and go crazy ringing everybody to try and get them along. As soon as the event ended, that was me done for another 3 weeks. But what you have to learn is that an event is absolutely every interaction. So when the lady that served you your breakfast this morning comes down, that's an event. You can have a conversation with her. You don't have to bombard her with Juice Plus, but you just share your story in some way or another. So, meetings and conferences, one-to-one, social media, in-home, just walking down the street, your friend playing football, the guy at work, everything is an event. And what you're doing then is you're using your list of names to really push those events forward. So what I would finish with when I'm speaking to somebody new is set out again weekly target. You want focused small amounts of work so they don't feel you're taking over their life, and you don't have this mad rush at the end of the month, and it gets overwhelming, and that makes people feel uncomfortable, lose their confidence. So weekly targets, really important. Then plan your activity with them. Again, like the product and the business story, what gets written down gets done. So when you're sitting down with somebody and you say, okay, we need 20 orders for the month to get you to SDD, that's 5 a week, front load it, put that at 6 or 7, and then you plan their activity. What day are you doing an in-home? Who's hosting the in-home? Who's coming to it? What events are coming up? What conference calls are you going to be on? And get all of that written down in the early stages. And again, always be mindful that you're not just doing it for them, you're doing it that this is going to live on throughout their whole team or their whole Juice Plus career. So you plan all the activity. List of names is driving everything. So if you've going to have 2 in-homes this week and go to 2 events, first thing you get out is your list of names. And that's what drives everything along. So what you're seeing is the starter guide coming together. And lastly, action. Don't spend 3 weeks writing your list of names and then planning events for another 3 or 4 days and then take action for the last 2 days of the month. Always action. Focused action all the time. Bob Burdick, the first time I heard him speak in the UK, it was about 3 years ago. He said, always doing money-making activities. And what he meant by that was, you're always out there talking about Juice Plus. So, action, review it again at the end of the week. Plan your activity again. If you're behind, we need to up the activity. If you're ahead, well then just keep doing the same thing over and over again. List of names and so on, and it keeps just going round and round. A very, very, very simple system. The last thing that I would cover with them again is to re-emphasize the opportunity that we have here. To really put that urgency in them that once this meeting is over, that's them ready to go. Simple requirements for success. Ambition. You cannot give ambition to somebody. You cannot instill that in them. They have to have it within themselves. So you work with ambitious people, and they will drive your ambition as well. Attitude I'm going to touch on in a second. Action, as I just said. This is all about getting out there and making it happen for you, which coincides with accountability. You're accountable to yourself. We all plan our own, or we're all in charge of our own destiny within this company. Nobody can hold us back, because if a team member isn't pulling their weight, you just move on with another one. So accountability, both to yourself, to your team below you, but also to your upline. You've made a commitment that you're going to give it all because they're committing to you. So just on attitude, positive and relaxed when you're speaking to people. This is a very, very easy-going business. It's a very serious business, but it's a very easy-going business. And we need to come across in that way, that we're positive and relaxed. We're confident. What have we not got to be confident about? Look at this room, packed with people. Huge success stories. Fastest growing country in the world. in the UK. I think Ireland are number 2, or we're going to be very soon. Lastly, passion that puts restraint. We have all got extremely passionate about Juice Plus and then puked everything all over everybody else. Be restrained, and again, your product story will help you do that, and getting that ability just to be able to drop it into conversations. And sometimes you don't even have to say anything. You don't have to mention Juice Plus, and they'll ask you what you're doing because of that passion that's within inside you. And most important, I think, is that you can have all of these things if every time you speak to a new person, you have in your head, it doesn't really matter to you. It matters to their future, not your future. So if you go to speak to somebody and they don't want to have anything to do with Juice Plus, that's absolutely fine. They've had no effect on your future. You should be glad that they told you up front so you can move on to the next person. So when you have that in mind, you can be positive and relaxed and confident and passionate and all of those things. Lastly, call to action. When we come to these conferences, sometimes we get very much wound up in the moment. We get very, very excited by everything. We're going to go home and we're going to kill dead things and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But it's important to use these conferences to gather that passion within inside you and that ambition, but really analyse where you're at. So is everybody in the room here happy with where they are right now within this business? I heard one yes, and I'm going, you are? Very good. Good for you. I'm not. So I'm going to keep moving so I can get off the stage. Are we making the most of this opportunity? Like when you look at the opportunity that you have, one-off bonuses of £80,000. As I say, one of those cars. But more importantly, financial freedom for the rest of your life. And even better, you can do it as quickly as you want. So are we really making the most of this opportunity? Lastly, what I would say is know exactly what you want. If